Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to fundamentally redefine what it means to be a hero. We are digging into a fascinating historical case study about quiet courage, and we'll break down how doing the right thing isn't always about making the most noise. In fact, as you'll see, true integrity often operates completely in the shadows. I want you to think about the absolute bravest person you can possibly imagine. You got him in your head? Okay, now ask yourself, what does true courage actually look like in practice? Is it someone making a grand sweeping speech? Somebody leading a charge on a battlefield? We carry these heavy preconceived assumptions about bravery, and I really want to challenge those right now. You know, history almost always celebrates the typical heroes. We're talking warriors, kings, and loud revolutionaries who naturally command the spotlight. But today, we're looking at a completely different kind of figure, Obadiah. He wasn't a warrior, he wasn't a king, he was just a quiet government official who risked absolutely everything behind closed doors, completely out of the public eye.
All right, let's dive into Section 1, Inside a Corrupt Regime, focusing on the reign of Ahab and Jezebel.
To really grasp the stakes of Obadiah's situation, we have to look at the terrifying world he lived in. This was one of the absolute darkest periods in Israel's history. First, you had King Ahab plunging the entire nation into the widespread worship of a false god, Baal. But then Queen Jezebel escalated things to a whole new level. She launched a lethal, aggressive campaign to hunt down and eliminate all the faithful prophets. And naturally, absolute fear spread like wildfire throughout the entire land. With that kind of fear paralyzing the nation, ordinary citizens faced a totally brutal reality. Speaking the truth could literally cost someone everything. I mean, people were forced into this terrible dilemma. Do you remain faithful and risk deadly persecution, or do you stay silent and compromise your core values just to survive? And that brings us right into the middle of this crisis, and to the man himself. Obadiah was the manager of King Ahab's palace. What makes his story so incredibly compelling is that he wasn't hiding out in the wilderness, miles away from the danger. He held a senior government position right in the belly of the beast. He worked at the absolute center of power, surrounded every single day by corruption and the direct, lethal influence of Queen Jezebel. Now, looking at his position, you're probably wondering what I was wondering. Why continue serving a system that fundamentally opposed everything he believed in? I mean, why wouldn't a person of deep conviction just resign? Why not pack up and walk away from such a violently toxic administration? It really seems like the most logical thing to do, right? Just get out. But here's the thing. Obadiah's continued presence in Ahab's palace reveals a pretty profound truth. Sometimes people of integrity are called to difficult places precisely to make a difference. Sometimes you have to remain in a deeply flawed, corrupt environment because you are perfectly positioned to be the only one who can actually enact change from the inside out. Obadiah held on to his convictions right where they were needed most. Moving on to Section 2, the secret rescue mission and courage in the shadows. So, when Jezebel intensified her violent campaign, Obadiah faced a choice that could have easily been fatal. But instead of just looking the other way to protect his comfortable, high-ranking job, he took direct action. He secretly rescued 100 hunted prophets whose lives were in imminent danger. Think about that. 100 lives, saved by a man working right under the nose of the queen trying to eliminate them. No way that was easy. And let's be clear, this wasn't just a one-time heroic leap. It was a massive, terrifying, logistical nightmare. He hid these prophets in 2 separate caves, 50 in each. Then, he had to secretly smuggle food and water to them, evading Jezebel's deadly forces on a daily basis. Every single trip to deliver supplies increased the possibility of discovery. Every quiet conversation carried the risk of certain death. But here's what really shows us what Obadiah was made of. Look at what he didn't get for pulling this off. No applause, 0 public praise. If this happened today, there'd be no social media followers, no viral posts, no front-page headlines. He took on this tremendous burden with absolutely 0 expectation of recognition. And that proves something huge, that real courage absolutely does not need an audience. Which brings us to our final section, Section 3, the power of unseen integrity and how we navigate modern imperfect systems. Let's bridge this ancient story to our own lives for a minute, because while we might not be dealing with ancient kings and deadly queens, Obadiah's dilemma is incredibly relevant to us today. So many of us feel stuck as employees or professionals inside imperfect systems that constantly test our efforts. We deal with questionable organizational decisions, unsupportive leaders, and workplace cultures that quietly pressure us to compromise our personal values just to get ahead. When we're stuck in those kinds of systems, we usually face a fork in the road. The easy path is cynicism and compromise, telling yourself that integrity is just impossible in such a toxic environment, so why even try? But then there's Obadiah's choice, unseen faithfulness. He totally refused to allow the massive corruption around him to determine the condition of his own personal character. I really want you to let this quote sink in for a second. Integrity is not dependent on our environment, it is dependent on our choices. That distinction matters immensely. A corrupt culture never actually forces you to become corrupt. A dishonest workplace doesn't require you to be dishonest. Your character is always, entirely, your own choice. Because Obadiah made the right choice, day in and day out, we see an amazing result. He literally changed lives without ever becoming the center of the story. Think about the massive ripple effects of that. Those 100 prophets survived, their message kept spreading, and future generations benefited, all because one individual was willing to just do the right thing in the dark. This idea completely flips our modern cultural obsession with visibility right on its head. Sometimes the bravest person is the one quietly doing what is right despite the risks. We've got to stop measuring a person's significance by how much attention they get, because influence doesn't just come from being noticed. The loudest person in the room is rarely the bravest, and true sacrifice matters even if the world never throws a parade for it. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to really challenge your own unseen integrity. Ask yourself honestly, would you still do what is right if absolutely no one applauded? Would you still make the ethical choice behind closed doors if there was no reward, no recognition, and no audience? If true impact happens in the dark, what silent choice are you avoiding right now just because no one will notice?